Leo Garcia's world smelled like gasoline, sweat, and victory. At just 17, he'd already become a local racing legend, tearing up illegal street circuits with the confidence of a pro. But beneath the roar of engines and his charming smirk lay a pressure he rarely showed: the need to prove himself, not just as a racer, but as someone worth remembering. College scouts weren't biting yet, and time was running out. Then she appeared, Layla Thompson. She wasn't like the girls who flirted trackside in crop tops. She wore thrifted jeans, carried a beaten-up planner, and never smiled unless she meant it. Leo first saw her behind the counter at Benny's diner, wiping down tables with weary grace. Her eyes, stormy, thoughtful, unshaken, stopped him mid-order. "Coffee. Black," he muttered, watching her like a man suddenly aware of the world outside his windshield. Leo kept coming back, not for the coffee, for her. Something about Layla's quiet strength slowed his pulse in a way no finish line ever had. But while he lived life in the fast lane, Layla was grounded in survival mode. 2 part-time jobs, a younger brother in diapers, and bills her mom left behind. She didn't have time for daydreams or boys with speeding tickets. Still, their lives were about to collide. Leo leaned against his Mustang outside the diner one night, engine idling like a purring beast. Layla stepped out after her shift, exhausted but curious. "You know coffee's cheaper inside, right?" she said, arms crossed. Leo grinned. "Not the same without your sarcasm." She rolled her eyes but didn't walk away. They talked. About music. About what they'd do if life wasn't so complicated. Leo confessed his dream, to race professionally. Layla said she used to want to study architecture. "Now I just want enough tips to keep the lights on," she whispered. Something in Leo cracked open, not pity, admiration. They started meeting late at night, at diners, at gas stations, under streetlights. Leo showed her the track where he practiced. Layla showed him how to change a diaper with one hand. He raced like nothing could stop him. She lived like everything could. And yet, they fit. Like speed and stability, risk and reason. But every joy came with fear. Layla worried he'd crash, literally and emotionally. Leo feared she'd disappear into the weight of her world. Love, they were learning, wasn't about running away. It was about showing up, even when it hurt. Leo got his shot. A real scout was coming to the big race next month. Everything he dreamed of was finally within reach. But so was Layla. And suddenly, they weren't fitting so easily anymore. Layla's mom missed another child support payment. The electricity was cut off. She picked up an extra shift, which meant no time for Leo. When he surprised her at the market, hoping to cheer her up, she snapped. "Not everything can be fixed with flowers and horsepower, Leo." He left angry, hurt, confused. She was slipping through his fingers, and he didn't know how to hold on. That night, he drove faster than he should have, lost control, and crashed into a guardrail. The car was totaled, his arm fractured. The scout never saw him race. Layla heard the news at the diner. She dropped everything and ran to the hospital. He looked pale, defeated. "I ruined it all," he muttered. She took his hand. "No, you just finally slowed down long enough to realize what matters." Leo's arm healed, but his pride didn't. He skipped the garage, ignored texts, avoided his friends. The car, the Mustang he rebuilt with his dad, was gone. Racing felt like a fantasy. But Layla stayed. They walked more, talked deeper. One night, on the roof of her apartment, she handed him a sketch. It was a racetrack, but the lanes twisted into a heart. "You don't have to give up your dream," she said, "but maybe it's time to change the road you take." Leo started volunteering at a local youth center, teaching kids about cars. Layla saved enough to cut back on hours and enrolled in night school for design. They weren't rich, or stable, or certain, but they were building something, with patience and purpose. For the first time, Leo saw racing not just as an escape, but a platform, to inspire, not just to win. And Layla realized love didn't have to be a burden, if it came from someone who lifted you. 6 months later, Leo stood beside a new car, sponsored, safe, and earned. Layla was in the crowd, sketchpad in hand. This time, he wasn't just racing for himself. He was racing for the kid he used to be, and the girl who helped him become more. As the engines roared and the green flag dropped, Leo felt calm, focused. He finished third, but it didn't matter. Layla met him at the gate, grinning wide. "You didn't crash," he laughed. "Not this time." They drove home in silence, fingers intertwined, windows down. Love, they realized, didn't demand speed, it demanded direction. A year later, Leo was part of a local pro team. Layla was interning at an architecture firm. They still had long nights and short tempers, but they never stopped showing up. One evening, back where it all began, Benny's diner, Leo slid a ring box across the table. "I know we're young and messy, but if we keep choosing each other every day, fast lane or slow lane, I think we've got something real." Layla opened the box. Inside was a simple silver band engraved with tire tracks. She laughed through tears. "I don't want a perfect life. I want ours." They kissed under the neon lights, the hum of passing traffic like applause. Because love, they finally understood, wasn't a race. It was a journey, together. Leo's semi-pro debut brought praise, but also pressure. Sponsors expected results, training was tougher, and mistakes weren't taken lightly. For the first time, Leo felt like a small fish in a sea of real competitors. He missed the thrill of street racing and the freedom of late-night rides with Layla. Everything now was calculated, commercial, and cold. Layla, too, was adjusting. Her internship came with long hours, demanding supervisors, and constant reminders that she was the youngest, the poorest, and the only one juggling family responsibilities. When Leo missed her first architecture showcase to attend a team briefing, she didn't speak to him for 2 days. They weren't fighting, they were just tired. One evening, they met at the bleachers by the old high school track. No crowd, no race, just silence. "Are we drifting?" Leo asked. Layla stared at the sky. "We're trying to outrun life, Leo. But life always catches up." He reached for her hand. "Then let's face it, together." The road ahead was still messy, but neither of them wanted to face it alone. Leo decided to step back. Not from racing, but from racing without purpose. He asked to take a 1-month break from competitions and instead spent his time mentoring kids at the same garage that once built his Mustang. Layla helped redesign the space, adding her touch, walls painted with murals of racing legends and community heroes. Together, they rebuilt a rusted-out car with a group of teens, showing them that even wrecks can run again. It became therapy. For the kids. For Leo. Even for Layla, who found joy in creating something lasting with her own hands. That month reminded them why they fell in love. Not for perfection or prestige, but for resilience and growth. Leo's love for speed didn't have to mean leaving everything behind. And Layla's love for structure didn't mean she couldn't take risks. They were learning that love, like racing, is about knowing when to hit the gas and when to pause. One stormy evening, Layla's brother fell ill. She rushed him to the clinic, bills in hand, heart pounding. Leo was at a qualifying race out of town. For the first time in months, Layla didn't tell him what was going on. She didn't want to distract him. But Leo felt it, that nagging tug that something wasn't right. After the race, he drove 5 hours through the rain just to find her asleep in a waiting chair, cradling her brother. She woke to his arms around her and the soft hum of the vending machine beside them. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. "I didn't win," he replied. "Didn't feel like I did anyway." They held each other, quiet but present. In that moment, Leo realized that some things were more important than trophies. And Layla knew she no longer had to face life's storms alone. With graduation around the corner, choices loomed large. Leo got an offer to join a national racing academy in Florida. Layla was accepted into a prestigious architecture program across the country in Oregon. The conversation they'd been avoiding finally surfaced. "Maybe we're not meant to be in the same place right now," Layla said, voice shaking. Leo looked at her like she was a horizon he couldn't reach. "Maybe we're meant to find our way back later." It wasn't goodbye. It was growth. They kissed under a sky streaked with sunset, bittersweet and beautiful. "Let's chase our dreams," Leo whispered, "and leave the light on for each other." Distance tested them. FaceTime calls turned into sleepy check-ins. Letters turned into memories, but neither of them let go. Layla sketched racetracks into her designs. Leo kept her photos in his glove compartment. They dated other people. Not seriously. Just enough to realize that love wasn't something you could replace like a blown tire. Their bond had been built in the hardest of places, between burnout and bills, wrecks and worry. And no one else understood that road like they did. 2 years later, Leo won his first national championship. Cameras flashed, crowds roared, and he stood still, heart full, smile soft. That night, he called Layla. "I've still got your sketch in my bag," he said. She laughed. "I still have your glove in my drawer." The road had brought them apart, but it hadn't erased the map. On a warm summer evening, Leo drove through his old neighborhood. The diner was still there. So was the garage. But what stopped him was the new building downtown. Sleek, artistic, full of glass and curves. Layla stood outside, blueprints in hand, wearing a hard hat and the same bright eyes he fell in love with. She turned, saw him, froze, then smiled like no time had passed. "I thought you were still on tour," she said. "I am, but I had to make a pit stop." She lowered her clipboard. "You staying long?" "That depends," he said, pulling something from his pocket, a silver ring with a tire track engraving. "On what?" she asked, tears rising. "On whether you'll race this next lap with me." And just like that, Layla nodded, heart bursting. They embraced, two souls finally crossing the finish line, not in first place, but together. Because love in the fast lane isn't about how quickly you get there. It's about who's still beside you when the engine's cool.